Hello, everybody, and welcome. This is the Ask Me Anything show by JVology Live, and I am your host, Krista Inakovsky. Happy to greet you all this morning and share with you a very special guest expert, Monica Bijoux. How are you today, Monica?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
Doing fantastic. It's always fun to have a conversation with you. You've got so much going on, and I really love the name of your company, Decide to Move. There's just so
Thank
much
you.
power in that.
Yes. I absolutely it came about was actually me helping another company move, like without me realizing that's what I was doing. It's each letter's a acronym for transformational. And I basically was helping this guy help bring his computer business going from $100 here and there to actually making over six figures. And in the process of doing that, I didn't really know what I was just actually helping him. And so then one day when it was time for me to actually do a presentation where I had to be a change agent, I prayed, and then all these little steps started popping in my spirit. I wrote them down, woke up the next day and put them all like wrote them each as they were presented to me, and the first letter of each word spelled decide to move. And so when it was time for me to start my company, I said, okay, that's what it's going to be.
That's fantastic. So it was all Decide to Move, not just move. I was thinking MOVE.
It's decide to move. Each letter it's like end up being 12 steps. Yeah. So and it worked out.
I'm a huge fan of that. My brain works the same way. And when I journal or write or do things to express my own creativity and brainstorming, I'm a big advocate of that. Like I have this ring lead and every letter stands for something for me personally.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that is really awesome. We'll dive into it a little bit more. I'm going to do an official start to our show. First of all, by inviting everyone who's viewing this on a page that maybe Monica shared or I shared to let you know that if you click Jay Facette's name right above the video, it'll take you to our original broadcast where we're going live right now. And when you're on that page, when you comment, we get to see your comments and we can put them up on the screen. We can answer your questions and keep it more interactive. So if you're watching from another page, just hit Jay's name and it'll take you over to this original broadcast page. So that's tip number one. And to make it official, I'm going to share with you the JVology intro. All right, so JVology is the perfect mix of people, fun, and profit. A community for entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, thought leaders, just like you, Monica, who have been a very beneficial and fun part to our community. And as you're growing with your business and your exposure and all the value that you are able to add to our members. My dog is having a ball back here.
I'm gonna take off my glass so they can stop glaring. Oh, that I saw him behind you.
Of all times and all places, they're like, she's like, I'm going to go while you're live, Mom. Why not?
That's what's being so natural is when, now that we've gotten to shift things at home, people are able to be in their natural habitat. And, I actually seen this commercial that cracked me up where it's like, now you have your new assistants and they have the dog eating your paper and the kids running back and forth. And it's like, okay, put them to work. They're done. They have their playtime. So it's kind of like you just go with the punches when you're at home and you have family. So
it's so true. And we're all in that spot now. What used to be almost like embarrassing, like, oh, you have to protect this, I'm doing business, don't let anybody know I'm at home. Now everybody's at home and we all know it. And like you said, there's family. We got my two kids in and out, but it's nice, right? It's made business more connected, and you really get to know human to human, which is a big part of what JVology is about. It's not just doing business to business, but it's person to person. And what do you like about each other?
Yeah, and it allows people to be more open too. I was watching like I get these Darren Daily, and he had did like a training on how, like in the very beginning when COVID first started, how to help managers be able to connect with their employees. And he's been doing telework for a long time. So he did a training. Well, he ended up sending an email and saying, my apologies, but one of the girls in the middle of her, like doing her, like the training, her little boy, he was like maybe one, came, walking in the room, opened the door, and he's butt naked. So they had to like take the picture. He said it happened so quickly he didn't notice, because at first she was like, oh, and then she's like, they're trying to cover it up. And it's kind of like, after a while, you're just like, yep, because you have no control of kids. You can say, hey, keep it quiet, I'll be there. But unfortunately, when they want to show up, it's my turn to be on the camera now. Let me ask these questions. So,
oh my gosh, that's great. All right, so tell me a little bit about you. Where are you located?
So I'm currently in Wichita, Kansas. Did not come here. Like, I'm not from here. I'm originally from Louisiana, hence the last name. And I actually been here back in the States because I was overseas for 6 years. So I've been back in the States for about almost 2 years now. So yeah, just like getting accustomed to America all over again.
Where were you?
So I was in South Korea before coming here, and then before then I was in Germany. So spent a lot of time overseas. Absolutely loved it.
Oh, that's awesome. I've spent a lot of time in Germany as well. And I lived in Japan at one point. So
yeah, that's where my daughter wants to go to next. Before COVID, her plan was to go to Japan in October 2020 because she's currently in Germany. She came to visit me, decided she liked it, and said, I'm staying. I'm like, you are truly my child. Wow. And so she is staying there. And once everything settles, she'll end up going somewhere else in Japan and working out there. So, yeah.
That's great. I look forward to those days. Travel is super important to me. And one of the reasons I love this industry and the role that I have is getting a chance to travel and meet people and participate in events and lead events. And it's a little, it falls a little flat when we don't have when the calendar's not full of where I'm going next, because that always keeps me fueled.
Exactly. Because even when I was overseas, I flew to the States all the time. And then when I got back, like every single month I was traveling somewhere. So then it's like, wait, what? I'm not going anywhere? Just in my living room?
Here we go.
This. So, yeah.
So tell me what you're up to right now. You started to touch on Decide to Move.
So I am... I had started my podcast and it's doing really well. It hit international, like within in the first 2 weeks. And from there, so many people kept asking me if I would teach podcasting, because for me, I'm very psychologically androgynous, which means that my brain takes the male and the female and merges them together to allow me to stay balanced. So I love tech stuff, but I love to cook. I like to put things together, but I like to crochet. So I'm one of those kind of people, I never get bored. And so I've had several people ask me if I would actually do a podcasting course. And so I'm finishing it up now, and I'll start another one in doing a challenge in August and run another one starting in September, because I've been getting so many people that have watched me do interviews, have been on the podcast, and they're like, I like your style. I like the way that you do things. Can you please teach us? And so I'm like, okay, fine. And I love tech stuff. It's so weird. I've had people tell me you should outsource, but I'm like, that balances me because I'm in the military, right? And then I also have my business, my coaching business. So doing tech stuff gives me a balance. I don't know. I'm just one of those weird kind of people.
You are multi-talented and multi-dimensional, which makes you very interesting and always creating new things, which I love. I'm a bit of the like, what is she doing now kind of person, because I'm always love to create. So all right, so let's see. I want to know what's the podcast been about? Like what's the theme and who have you had?
Yes. So my podcast is called Decide to Move. after my brand, Decide to Move podcast, and it's about entrepreneurs who are making pivotal shifts in their life and in their business. And so I do interview styles. So I have experts or speakers that come on that talk about their story. They give their real life story of things that they've been through in their life and how they've made pivotal shift. And then they go into teaching and giving people strategies and different things like that. And the reason that I wanted it to be that way is because I wanted people to be able to connect with my speakers and the guests so that they really have a clear, like, because anybody can Google a strategy or a tool. There's so many out there, but it's your personality, your own style. It's your experience that people resonate with. And then so it's been successful because people say they love the fact that the connections that they see I have with my guests, but I get along with everybody. I like people. So we just get on, have it conversational and just super fun. I don't do it lasts anywhere between 30 minutes and up because of the fact that I allow people to just be themselves and us have a conversation, give them room to actually talk about their experiences. And then we go into a lot of the questions and stuff like that. And I weave them in together. So I think being a therapist helps me in that space where I don't take questions people, have me ask them. I go by what they say and I ask them questions based on them. So it's very fluid and a easygoing conversation. I've actually had people say to me, I felt like I was just having me some tea sitting on the couch, listening to somebody's conversation. And I'm like, well, good. Thank you. Because that's kind of like where I just wanted it to be, where it's not inundated with information, where you're getting you're listening to a conversation, but you're learning at the same time. So that's basically how I do things.
The part that's interesting to me is that decision to move, the decide to move. It's a decision that comes around what someone is going through and what is happening in their head and heart when they decide to take action. Like you said, the how-to, the kind of the bullet points that you could Google search, that's part of the how it happened. But the story behind, what was that either tipping point, or what were you not going to put up with anymore, or what really needed to change, and how hard was just the decision to make the change. That's where life's hard. It's not necessarily the doing. It's like going full in and stepping into something new, and it's hard.
Yeah, exactly. It's for me, it's like, because I know for myself, I've actually been through a lot and people see me smile all the time and they're like, oh my God, you're so happy. I've actually one time had this guy tell me, you look like you're spoon fed, like you've never been through anything in your life. And I just started laughing. I was like, well, thank you for letting me know how well I took care of myself, because I have been, one that's been through physical, emotional, sexual abuse, put out at the age of 15, had my daughter at 17. And all those life experiences made me realize, one, how precious life is. I mean, had to do the eulogy for my brother, just a lot of just back-to-back stuff. And I have a choice. I have a choice. Do I allow myself to be a victim, or do I allow myself to be a victor, to allow those things that I've been through to look as experiences and obstacles that I jump over. And each thing that hits me just allows me to get stronger. And so I often tell people, thank you so much for adding to my mound to make me a lot stronger. Appreciate it, kind of thing. So I don't let things get to me easily. And so I actually teach my clients the same way, like how you take those situations and then help them reframe it in a different way. And so I think that's what helps me be a really good therapist as well as a good business coach. So
absolutely, the reframing has been an important part in my journey and what I've learned and teach as well. It's so much about perspective and your perception of any situation and the story that we give it. Then we really have the power to change the narrative and change what that story is to a more empowering story, or at least stop telling the disempowering story over and over again.
Yeah, I've actually said that one time where someone kept telling me the same story over and over and over again. It was, one of my therapy clients. And after the third time, I asked her, I said, you've told me this story 3 times. Do you feel like there was any part that I missed where I was not getting who you are, what what you've been through. And she's like, no, I feel like you've gotten everything very clearly. And I said, okay, well, are you just where you want to stay stuck with that story, or are you ready to make a difference? And either one is perfectly fine with me. It just makes a difference of what type of who, like, do I keep you as a client or do I transfer you to someone else? Because I'm not trying to be funny, but I am an action therapist. I'm about change. I'm about growth. I'm about development, helping a person get to the next place. I was like, but if you're comfortable just staying where you are, I will definitely get you a provider that will work with you very well. And so I end up giving her, transfer her to a different client. And my thing is, I'm not going to bash somebody who wants to keep telling that story, but I'm just not going to be on the end of listening to it if they don't want to do anything different. Because every time you tell that story, unless it's about this is where I've been and this is where I was and this is where I'm going, and you just want to talk as if you're still there, there's no growth happening. And guess what? All those emotions continue to surface and eat at you over and over and over again.
Yeah, it's so true. One of the most important things we can do is stop telling the story before you can even take action somewhere else, is to stop that replaying, because every time it does, it reinforces, it strengthens your own belief in your victimhood. There's so many things there. And I can't remember what the statistic is. You may know, or there may be many different statistics on it, but that our interpretation of story is very, very different than the actual facts of what happened. So when you break down the difference between the facts of that particular day or hour or time span is quite different. Yeah.
Exactly. Well, one of my specialties is dealing with trauma from my therapy side. And then with my business coaching, I really help my clients start with the mindset of stuff, because if your mindset is not correct, guess what? Nothing else will. But when it comes to when someone's gone through something traumatic, there's a piece that goes through dissociation. It's kind of like, if you ever seen something scary, like I don't like spiders, like snakes. And so I might scream. And in the moment of me screaming and running, I'm missing like the fact that really was like probably an ant. But in my mind, it was super big with hair and all these legs, right? And so I missed the important part. People were like, why are you screaming? Did you not see that spider? It's trying to get me. And so what we do is we end up filling in the gaps. Like if we forget parts, we fill in the gaps, and we'll tell ourselves that story over and over again with the gaps inside of it. And I've actually seen that, like, where like my own mom, love her to pieces, but my mother's one that had her own history of trauma and different things like that. Some, trauma repeats trauma until someone says enough. And I was that person that said that. And what she'll do is she'll tell a story, and I'm like, whose story is that? Because that is not what happened. But that's what she'll fill in gaps. And it's kind of like, okay, well, that's your perception, and I'm going to let you have that. I know the part that I've saw, and I know exactly what happened, and other people verify that, but okay. And so it's kind of like some people need to, like, she's one that it's good at avoiding things that is hurtful and painful. So she'll make it different than what it actually happened. And it's kind of like, okay, that was, and I just give people that was a good story. Not true, but that was good, So that's why it's called a story, because you added some pieces in there.
Well, I work with teens, as I think you know. I do group program for teenagers, building confidence and connection. And that piece about explaining the difference between the story and what happened. I mean, it can happen to all of us, but especially during that, kind of heightened dramatics that can often come during adolescence, where we can blow out of proportion what somebody else thought, right? Like, how do we know what somebody else really thought? That's not even a fair accusation, because we're not in their head.
Yeah. I always say, when you think what I'm thinking, there's too much thinking going on, and there's a problem with that. So let's just asking. But one thing is just, from a mental health standpoint of adding, there's something particular that I teach, and it'll probably work very well for you with you having working with teens. And so our frontal cortex, our frontal lobe is not fully developed for men until they're 25. So when ladies, if you often wonder why your guy does what he does, his frontal lobe is not fully there yet. You know what I'm saying? Some don't even, some never fully develop. If you've used drugs, alcohol, anything like, significant, it stops developing. But I'm use my hand to talk about your frontal lobe. So what happens is, this is where you concentrate, you make decisions, go through the consequences. Like, if I do this, this will happen. Well, what happens when somebody's going through something traumatic, I call it like they flip their lid, like this totally goes offline. The only thing that's exposed is your amygdala. That's the part of your brain that is in fight, flight, or freeze, survival only. So when someone's in survival mode, they're not really thinking about anything but surviving. Like, if a car is coming at you at 100 miles an hour, you're not going to stop and go, oh my God, is that a Ferrari? Look at those rims. I wonder what kind of engine it has. Like, you're not going to do that. You're going to jump out of the way. And so that's what happens a lot of times when people go through something traumatic. They're mostly in survival mode. So that piece of seeing all the details are totally missing. And so then, of course, they fill that in. So, guys, I'm not giving you, or ladies, the excuse of why you do what you do. But yeah, that's why kids often go, I don't know. They really don't know why they did what they did, because their frontal lobe is not fully developed yet. So, yeah.
Yeah, good to know. And then even sharing that with them helps them go, oh, okay. They're kind of reassuring, like, all right, that I'm transitioning. My brain's developing right now. It's okay that don't have it all together.
Or that I'm saying things that I'm like, what?
Right.
Yeah, exactly. But then there comes that point, it's like, okay, there's no more excuses for that anymore. You can't sit there and go, well, my frontal lobe is not fully developed yet. So yeah, education is a big piece that I like to do, because once you know something, then you can make a choice and a decision. And that's what, Decide to Move is all about, is having that educational part. So that way, what's going on. Then that way, when you make a decision, you're making an informed decision. Even if it's not necessarily the best decision, at least you went unknowing what the possible consequences would be. And consequences could be good or bad. So
right. And I always say, you can decide again. It's not a one decision and now you're locked in. It's like, you're going to constantly be making decisions along your path. So make the big ones. And if it feels like it's in the right direction, keep deciding in that manner. And if it's feeling off or wrong, then start making decisions in a different direction.
Exactly. Yeah, one of the things that I often teach people, especially when they're doing process solving, problem solving, I always tell them the biggest thing to do is, when you get to the point of making a decision, give yourself a time frame and say, okay, I'm going to attempt this for 30 days. And then after 30 days, I'll go back and evaluate and see what worked, what didn't work, and then go from there, instead of it being like, yep, this is the decision and this is what I'm going to stick with, because you don't leave yourself room for changing if something is not working. So 30 days, 2 weeks, whatever your time frame is, give yourself an opportunity to go back, build that into your process, go back and evaluate what you have. And then from there, go forward with whatever decision, with the next, decision, or make some changes. So
I like that you give a time frame to it, because some people will spend eternity, or it feels like eternity, in this place of indecision. And that's a really yucky place to be. That can cause more anxiety and stress and overwhelm in this just feeling lost space. And then that self-talk becomes, I just don't know. I'm so lost. I don't know what to do. And then that becomes the narrative. And then you stay in that space. So I love creating a frame, time span frame.
Exactly. And it actually allows you just to make a decision, like, okay, out of all and brainstorming. So like, one of the processes I tell people, once you know what the issue is, the second biggest part is just brainstorm. Just write a whole bunch of ideas down, just brainstorm, then go back and look at which ones, sound really good. Okay, well, I'm going to try this one and this one, or just one, or whatever, how many you choose. I'm going to try it for a short period of time. And then if it doesn't, then I'll go back and evaluate and see what worked and what didn't. And it actually feels more comfortable in being decisive in what you do, like you were saying. And that was one of the things, like today, one of my coworkers were like, well, one of the psychologists I supervise said to me, she goes, what I love about you is the fact that you're so decisive. Like, you don't sit there and wander back and forth. You take the information in and then you make a decision. And I'm like, isn't that the way it's supposed to be? But I realize not everybody do that. But for me, it's just come very natural because I've just gotten used to the fact of, okay, I'm going to make a decision and I'm willing to take the bullet if it doesn't work out and just kind of go from there. But I know that there's flexibility. I can actually adjust if I need to.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. In Napoleon Hill's classic book, Think and Grow Rich, he talks about that leaders make quick decisions and they rarely look back. And I believe it's a muscle you can build in making decisions. And it can be starting as simple as what's for dinner and where are we going tonight? And as you get used to these types of decisions and building your self-confidence, then those decisions, then you're an example of that they come and you just move forward knowing that, is this going to step me in the right direction? And I have the opportunity to choose and decide again as I go.
exactly. And I love his book, and he had so many great stories and different things that he said in there, which is so amazing. And that's one of the things that I think one of the biggest part for people is giving themselves the ability, like really being, like I always say, be kind to yourself, give yourself ability to be flexible. And oftentimes we're so like rigid and, perfectionist, but it's like just make imperfect decisions and figure it out as you go. And sometimes those things that you do that seem imperfect end up being the right thing for the right person at the right time. And so, but you don't know if it's stuck in here, who are you actually really helping anyway?
Right.
So
Very good. Very good. Well, Monica, what are you up to next? What would be a good person to reach out to you and for what reason? And you mentioned the podcast. What else is going on and how
so
can
yes, I'm doing the podcast. Of course, I'm in school as always. I feel like I'm a professional student. I love connecting and meeting people. So for working with JVology partners, is to me great. My group is expanding. CEOs on the Move is definitely expanding. I'm actually connecting with a lot of like-minded and like-hearted entrepreneurs who are wanting to grow. And so I allow them to, I'll do like interviews with them for those people who are shy and who've never done interviews before, or allow them to be featured so that we can talk about their business and different things that they have going on, and just kind of giving them the space to actually grow and make those, mistakes. If they call it mistakes, I consider it failing forward, giving them an opportunity just to show up authentic, and then that way they can expand in the world and just do some great things. And so yeah, so that's basically a lot of the stuff that I'm doing, creating courses. I'm actually creating a communications course because I was also asked how to teach people how to ask for anything without guilt. And I'm like, okay. And it was funny when I wrote it out, I was like, I did all my modules within like that, because communication is something that I teach on a daily basis, but you don't think about the things that you do that come so natural that after, when people are constantly asking you. So for anybody who's wondering what should they do, if someone's constantly asking you to do something, then that's probably one of your gifts and talents. And so one of mine is teaching. And so I said, okay, I'll do that too. So I'm all about credibility, authority, and visibility. And so anything that allows that to be the thing that shows up, that's what I like teaching around.
Oh, that's great. That's great. So everybody who's watching, if you get to watch the replay later, feel free to throw in some comments or say hello, and we can always answer after the fact. And Monica, if you want to share a page or way people can reach you or your website, feel free to do that. That way.
Yes. I'm going to have to put on my glasses because, when you're almost 50, you can't see people. So do I just put it in a private chat, or where do I
put it on?
I see where it goes. Okay.
Yeah, if not, I'll copy and paste it for you. But that's the great thing, whether you're part of our JVology community or not, and you're seeing this, we certainly invite you not only to come and check out Monica, but also come and play with us at JVology. We've got a great Facebook group, a public Facebook group that you can join and participate. And we've got a lot of great things, tons of support, and we're all about, especially now, there's so many changes in the world and so many uncertainties in business. And so to have a community of people that are there, both supportive from the heart, but also supportive in the skills and the how to and components that you need to be successful, whether you're already online or you're moving your business online more. We can really help with that at JVology and with our awesome members like Monica.
Thank you. And that's what I love about JVology Mastery. I actually have to say, for me, I appreciate the fact of it being focused on the client and not necessarily like how big is your mailing list and how big is that. And it when we come from that place, is more focused on ourselves instead of focused on our clients. And of course, our mailing list is important. Of course, building your connections and all that is super important. But if you operate from how do you service your client, then you're looking for the right JVology partners. You're looking for the right connections and like-hearted, like-minded people. And together, not only the two of you grow or the collections of you, but your clients also get better as well. Well, that's the main focus. And that's what I love about the way that Jay's spin on how he does with joint venturing and connections and different things like that. So.
Great. Well, awesome. Well, good. Well, so great to follow your progress. Glad that you are feeling well and you're getting some repairs done there and back at it, and hoping you're having a really great summer in store. Even if we're not off traveling the world like we'd like to be, we can still make an impact around the world, and that's what's important.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, my shoulder, it's like one day at a time because I didn't realize how many things was going on with it. But I'm like, I guess my body's like, well, just give me everything at once. So then that way you can heal all at one time. Because you're talking about a rotator cuff tear, labrum tear, no cartilage, and also bicep tendon that they had to repair. So I'm like, isn't that everything? It's like, all I need is a bionic shoulder and I should be fine, right, people? So it was crazy, but it is healing. So I appreciate that. And then I got my braces off. So that was great. So it's like one little thing at a time. I take little small things to make me happy. So.
Oh, good. All right, Monica, so great to have you. And we'll see you on JVology real soon.
It's been great. Thank you so much, Krista.